Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphanlast, and today we're going to have a tutorial on how to create your skeleton to your 2D cutout animation rig. Now, the first step that you need to do is just go ahead and turn off all of your columns, every single one, meshes and everything, just absolutely everything. Turn them all off. It doesn't matter if they're hidden from from being rendered or not. The one thing though, you do not want your meshes to render at all, ever. You don't want them to render at all, not even a little bit. So just go ahead and just make it set. All your columns are turned off from being visible in edit mode. And as for the meshes, make sure that the meshes specifically cannot be rendered. Alright? So, alright. Okay, so one thing that I need to show you is right here, okay? Now, you can actually hide things from being rendered right here. Like you can see the torso up there. If I click on this, you can see that I'm turning off the on and off from being rendered. And I can do the same thing over here. I can actually turn on the mesh and I can turn on the torso, and that's fine. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and select the plastic tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to mode and build skeleton. Okay, and we're going to select the mesh for the torso. That's what we're going to do. Now, as you can see, I've already created a bone structure, but that's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this and show you guys how to create the bone structure. Okay, so basically, now it's something that's really tempting for some people who first build a bone structure, and that is to go like this. Notice that it says root, and now it says vertex 1, vertex 2, vertex 3, vertex 4. Okay, now then I could go into animate mode, click on the drop down menu, click on animate, and the root just won't move at all. It just won't move. And once I select vertex 1, all of a sudden it's rotating. And like every time that I try to edit it, it's like it's doing this weird squirrely rotation thing. And like this is going to be something that's going to waste a lot of your time. And so it's best to just not deal with that at all. So let's select the root and delete it. Okay, so let's go back to build skeleton, and we make the root right here. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and click right here. All right, and vertex right there, and then I click here. Now, if I go ahead and click over here, notice how it's the vertex 3 is connected to vertex. I'm sorry, vertex 3 and 2 are connected. No, you notice that, right? And so like that's not what we want. So let's delete this vertex right here and select vertex 1 and create a new vertex. See that? Okay. So the vertex 1 and 3 is connected. Vertex 1 and 2 is connected. All right. So we're going to do this again and again and one more time. And basically, you don't necessarily have to use my same controls or my exact same skeleton. You don't necessarily have to use this, but you are creating your controls for your character. So let me go into animate, and let me turn off the mesh real quick here, and you can see just how things will work. Now, if you have a problem moving things towards the root, and you want to be able to move things towards the root, what you need to do is go over to keep distance and untick it. Okay, so now we have a little bit more customizability to this sucker. Okay, and we can see exactly what we can and can't do with this rig, and that's really nice. Let me go ahead and delete the keyframe to reset things. Okay, so one thing that you also need to be able to do is in mode here, in the mode drop down menu, you can go into paint rigid. Okay, let me turn on the mesh, and you can see that I've already painted this rigid. That's fine. Okay, let me go ahead and paint the whole thing rigid just to demonstrate a point. Okay, now you're not going to want everything rigid. This is basically painting things rigid or not basically helps you make it so that specific portions of the body that you don't want to be susceptible to the transformations quite as much, will be influenced by the transformation a little bit less. So but now we have everything rigid. How do we paint things so that they're not rigid? Okay, first of all, the thickness of your brush for painting things rigid is right here. So let me go ahead and ramp this all the way up and click on this drop down menu here, and we can go flex, and we can go ahead and make things like not rigid anymore. So I went a little gung-ho there. So let's put this on rigid and lower the size of the brush. And I like to have the exterior of my objects usually pretty rigid, and I like to have a gooey center. And this is where the rib cage is, so I don't see any reason for too much of the rib cage to be susceptible to the manipulation. And so once we go into animate, let me turn off the mesh. We can see things are moving pretty nicely, and I like this configuration. So let me go ahead and delete that keyframe, and it resets it right back to where it was. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn off this column and move on to the next area. Okay? The next thing you want to do is turn on the mesh for the thigh, and turn on the column for the thigh as well. All right. Now let's select the plastic tool and select the mesh for the thigh. Now I've gone ahead and already created a bone structure for this, and if you want to copy it, you can. And for all of the appendages, it's pretty much the same. If I go to paint rigid, it's just like the only thing that's truly rigid is this, his kneecap, and everything else is on the edges are nice and stiff with a gooey center. Okay, so now we can go ahead. Once you've finished this, you can go ahead and turn off the mesh and the column and go down to his thigh. Okay, and then select the mesh for his our calf, and you can see this is our configuration for the leg. Now this specific one second here, build skeleton. This specific vertex is only so that I can influence this one little line here. If you don't have any lines that extrude past this point right here, you don't necessarily need that one, but it just gives me a little bit more control over a little mistake that I had. So that pretty much concludes it with that, except for paint rigid. You can see just the edges are rigid and with a gooey center. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn on the foot and turn off the calf, and here we are. Okay, you can see what is and is not rigid, and you can see that I got something kind of crazy going on here. Let me put this into animate mode. You've already seen what's rigid and what's not. This allows me to be able to kind of move his toes around and be able to move his foot as though and influence his heel in order to make it so that it looks like he's walking. And depending on what the position of his foot is, I can actually manipulate everything pretty quick and easily. Let me delete this keyframe, and it resets everything back to where it was. All right. I'll resume in the next video and show you what I got going on for the arm, the neck, the head, and all of the assets for the face, which is basically the eyebrows, the nose, the mouth, and I believe that's it. But anyways, that concludes it for this tutorial. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a great day.